Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. This is A-Team Adventures. I'm Alex.
And I'm Allie. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A with questions that came from you guys plus some people from Reddit. The first question is, how did you meet?
Well, this is pretty easy. We met raft guiding while we were in North Carolina on the Highlow River. We were working for NOC. She had already been working there for a year, and I had just started, and we didn't actually start dating until the next year. But that's where we met, was in North Carolina.
Yep, that was raft guides, and we ended up actually living together in a small raft guide shack. So that definitely got us ready for van life.
All right, next question. How long have you been in the van, and how did you start? What inspired the adventure?
So we've been in the van for 4 years, right?
Yep, just about 4 now.
We started, well, because we were raft guides and we did kind of seasonal work, adventure travel jobs. So it really just made sense for us to kind of bring our own home with us and have our own space that we didn't have to move with. I mean, we move, but we don't have to move our things. We just have all our things mobile. So it was just very convenient for us to transition over to van life. Next question would be, what is your favorite place you have traveled for each of you?
This is a really hard question, especially after the summer, because we've just been all over. I mean, it's hard to even remember where we've been because we've just been doing so much traveling this summer, let alone the other 3 years. It's really hard. I think the Rockies are really amazing in Colorado. The Tetons are really amazing. You really see some magnificent mountains. They're just so sharp and just jutting out of nothing. But some of my favorite places that we've camped, I think, have probably been in Washington. Just always very secluded, up at the top of the mountains. Beautiful views, great weather.
Yeah, for my favorite place, I was actually going to say Washington too. The Washington coast, specifically on the Olympic Peninsula, I absolutely loved it. I'm a beach girl. I love the ocean, so it was so beautiful seeing all the rocky coastlines. And we actually got up early for low tide too, and seeing the starfish on the rock was like one of my favorite experiences in the outdoors probably ever.
Yeah, those starfish were super vibrant. Way more colorful than I was expecting. Okay, next question. How do you afford van life? What is your budget? And how much do you spend in a month?
So how we afford van life, we actually saved up for about 2 years to put away money for traveling. And that's gotten us this summer, and we're kind of living off our savings for now until we end up getting jobs for the winter. We usually do seasonal work, and that is our plan for this winter.
Our costs or monthly bills aren't too bad. We try to keep it around $2,000 a month. And that's, with gas and groceries and our van payment, our van insurance. And that's pretty much all of our bills. We trade rent for our insurance and car payment. We don't really have an electric bill because we have solar, and when we drive, that charges our batteries as well.
When we're traveling more, obviously gas expense is going to be more expensive, but lately we've been doing some very slow traveling, so our gas expense has gone down because we're staying in the same place for a long time. And we also never do campgrounds, so that is not an expense for us. We only camp for free, or park for free, never pay for a spot.
All right, what do you do for meals?
So we cook pretty much every meal, and we have a small 2-burner propane stove, and cook everything on that. And we don't have an oven, so can't make things like frozen pizza. That's probably the biggest thing we miss.
For the most part, we have a large freezer that we keep a lot of extra meats and frozen stuff, so that way we're always able to cook. We tend to get a lot of chicken, steak, we'll make tacos, we get veggies, we really just anything you can cook at your house, we make in our house as well. And so we're trying to cut down on the eating out because, again, that's just one of those expenses that really starts to rack up. Eating inside the van definitely helps us save money, especially if you can, buy almost in bulk and just pre-package things into our freezer. That definitely helps.
Yeah, I would also definitely be interested in making a video kind of more about what we eat and maybe what we eat in a week. So definitely comment down below if that's something you'd be interested in. How do you find campsites? What about parking in urban areas?
Well, I am the driver and Allie is the navigator. So she's the one that is always looking for sites. Normally she uses iOverlander. Sometimes we'll use a couple of other apps or websites, but almost 90% of the time it's on iOverlander, which is a free-to-use app. And we are constantly posting places that we find that aren't on there. We're also always leaving reviews of spots that we use.
Yeah, on iOverlander is just a great resource. Like, so many spots in national forest roads. Most of the spots we camp on are on national forest roads or BLM. So iOverlander is basically like a database. Anyone can post where they've stayed, and it is just super helpful kind of community of travelers. And they also have stuff on there like showers and laundry and
water springs. Yeah, we use that a lot for the springs also because we're always filling up our water. And we try, again, to not spend money on that, especially when there's free springs all over the U.S. that a lot of people do not know about.
And as far as camping in or parking in urban areas, it's not something we normally do. We usually try to stay out in the Forest Service areas, but we were in Denver recently for some concerts, so we had to find some urban areas, and we used iOverlander for that too. All right, next question. If I'm starting van life, what is one thing you recommend?
One thing. I guess it would have to be a big savings account. It's not cheap per se to get into van life, especially if you have a nicer van that you have payments on, or that you have to put down a lot for. And then the build itself takes money and it takes time. So, really before you endeavor into it, make sure that you've been saving and that you have kind of a good idea of how much is it really going to cost me to get this thing completely built out. And once it is completely built out, am I going to be at net zero? So you have to have a pretty good savings account ready if you're going to start kind of endeavoring into this. But once you get into the doorway, the expenses start to roll away from you. Once you get everything built and everything ready, those expenses start to go down. And so if you are working or if you're still saving money, you start to see that you'll start to save more and more and more. So that's really nice. It's tricky that the one thing I suggest is money, but
I feel like the one thing I would recommend is more time than you would think. I mean, we've been in the van for 4 years, but it hasn't exactly been the smooth, ideal, perfect van life journey all 4 of those years. Like our first year, we were on a bare bones build.
Really just a bed frame and some solar panels.
And then the next couple years, we were kind of working to recoup our costs. We were pretty stationary in the van, just kind of living in it and working, saving money. It wasn't immediate overnight. I went from working a 9 to 5, hating my life, to on the road, sweet freedom. It took about 4 years to really get the ideal van life situation going.
However long you think it's going to take you to get into the van full time, like she's saying, add time to that. You're going to need more time than you think to go full-fledged.
And I'm sure it's possible to do it fast, but that's probably if you the first thing you said, if you have tons of money, you can do it fast as you want. But if you're like us and you're kind of working to afford this lifestyle, it's going to take some time.
don't feel rushed.
Mm-hmm.
What are some high and low points and how they affect you guys on a personal level?
For me, I think I'll start with my low point, which we've had lower points than this, like when our transmission went out, but this is kind of like a classic van life example of a low point. I was kind of feeling burnt out, and I really didn't feel burnt out at all from van life all summer, except for this one day. And we were in Telluride, Colorado, which is not very van life friendly, so we had to drive a ways out of town to find a spot. And we drove up this really long gravel road, and we got up there, and the one space we could park was just full of vans and RVs and buses. Everyone had the same idea as us, and the sun was going down. And there was really no privacy at this spot. It was just not somewhere we could park and feel comfortable. So we had to drive down and find a new spot. I think it was about like 45 minutes away.
And it was getting dark.
It was dark. Yeah, and then we got to the spot. It was fine. We fell asleep. And then the next morning, a truck turns on at 5 a.m. right next to us, extremely loud. And I cannot sleep, and I'm just like pissed off and burnt out and really annoyed during that time. So that was definitely a low point. That's kind of an example of a time when everything went wrong and
everything that you can't control decided to come against us.
So there's definitely days like that where it's not a perfect ideal situation, and you kind of just have to roll with the punches and figure out, you know, where can I go, what's next. And then I think, we ended up finding a spot in the wilderness away from people and stayed there for like 5 days after that. And it definitely refreshed us. For a high point, for me, I think highs in the van are whenever we kind of plan to go through to national parks at sunrise. I love sunrises.
It's also really nice for those sunrises because the parks are normally the quietest they'll be, you know, the least amount of people that you'll see. And, you know, we just really prefer that.
One of my favorite sunrises, though, was at Rocky Mountain National Park, which is also a very busy park, but we saw it on Trail Ridge Road at sunrise, so yeah, definitely make sure to check out that video if you haven't seen it.
For me, highs are just, you know, anytime that we get to a really nice spot that, you know, just the weather is great, we have a great view, we're not right on the road, so, you know, we're not constantly hearing cars going by, you know, they're not kicking up dust on us, we're not near the highway. Really, anytime we're in a place like we are right now, right above the city, you can see great views, mountains 360 around you. You know, I just love, you know, having a new front porch in the secluded wilderness every week. It's just,
it's really like priceless because like no one can own these properties. It's the national forest and like it's $1 million view, but we're getting it for free pretty much. So.
Yeah, really though. And then low points for me are just really when the van starts having issues. You know, recently we were in Utah and the van's transmission died on us. And that was a huge low point. You know, we're not working right now, so we don't have money coming in, but that surely was money going out. Luckily, we had savings. We had some money saved up for an instance like this, and so we were able to, you know, get a new transmission and get back on the road within about 2 weeks, or like about a week and a half, something like that. And so, you know, we ended up conquering that challenge. And the van is still alive. The van's still getting us to where we need to go. But, you know, it definitely was very challenging.
So the next question is, do you sleep in the van or set up a tent?
Yeah, we sleep in the van. It has a full mattress that we got from Walmart. And I love it. It's probably one of my favorite mattresses I've ever slept on. It's just like a memory foam with bamboo foam mattress. You might be able to see it back there. And We stay warm in the bed. The van is insulated with wool, so normally we don't have to heat it unless there's like snow on the ground. And we just have nice big blankets. It's a full-size bed. I'm 6 foot, and I can fit perfectly fine on it. So
yeah, it's a great mattress. Yeah, I love sleeping in the van.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. How do you shower? What about using the restroom and laundry? So what do we do on our errand days?
Okay, so showering, we usually shower at the gym or a community center. We have memberships at Planet Fitness, and a good thing about Planet Fitness is we can actually split one membership because the Black Card allows you one guest every time, so I'm always the guest. If there's not a Planet Fitness around, because there's only really those in like pretty decent sized cities. Colorado's nice because they have a ton of these like community centers that it's usually like $5 or so for a shower.
And they're one of the only states that has that, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. For using the restroom, we always pee outside, or number 2, we dig a hole at least 6 to 8 inches deep and bury it. Yeah, that's...
It's not the most glamorous, but you really just can't beat the views. There's lots of times also where, we'll wake up and we're planning on going somewhere, so we'll end up just using the restroom when we get to the park that we're going to, or, we'll use the restroom at, some breakfast place that we're going to. Yeah, most of the time, like you said, we're just digging holes and, using the facilities.
Yeah, and if we are in an urban area, obviously, we're gonna find a bathroom.
We, opted to not do, a bathroom in the van, mostly because we didn't have the space for it. It's also just like quite the hassle in order to dump your tank. You have to go to a dump station. You can't just really dump it out anywhere. And then laundry?
Laundry, we just go to laundromats. There's usually one in every town. They're getting really expensive, so that's really fun. But yeah, usually it costs about $15 to do our laundry. We usually do laundry like about every 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Sometimes we'll push it. Yeah. But for the most part, about every 2 weeks or so.
Is it dangerous? Have you ever felt unsafe?
I don't think I've ever felt really unsafe. I am a 6 foot white male, so obviously I have a lot of privilege to not feel unsafe. Generally speaking, I wouldn't say that van life is dangerous. You just need to be mindful of, where you're parking and who you're parking next to. If we get kind of sketchy vibes from some abandoned RV that is near us, we will not use that spot.
Yeah.
If there's some RV that has a bunch of spray paint all over it and bullet holes on it, we won't be parking within 100 yards of that.
Yeah.
I
don't think I've ever really felt unsafe. There's definitely times if we're parking near people, I'm like, okay, let's lock the doors. We've never really had any experiences that have made me feel scared or anything like that.
Yeah, if anything, it's just horror stories that we've heard from other people, just weird people kind of coming up to their van, banging on it, trying to get their attention, trying to get something from them.
And usually on iOverlander, if someone has an experience like that, they will write it down in the comments, and I will avoid any place that says, oh, there's vagrants around.
For the most part, I don't really ever feel unsafe, especially when we get out and we're completely by ourselves. I think some people would think, oh, you're all alone, aren't you scared? And it's actually it's the opposite. I'm all alone. I'm not scared at all. It's when I'm surrounded by a bunch of people, that's what's scary, because you just never know what those people are going to do sometimes. So
yeah, the wilderness has never really made me feel unsafe.
Yeah. Okay. What particular van did you choose and why?
So this is a Ram ProMaster, and it's
the 1500.
Yes.
136 wheelbase, I think.
Yes, 136. And we chose this van mostly because of affordability. Alex really wanted a van he could stand up in. We had to go for a high top, and this is the shorter option of ProMasters, so that's why we don't really have room for a bathroom.
Or a shower.
This van was in our price range. We got it back in 2021, and it just kind of fit everything we needed.
Like she said, that comes in an extended version, but that was another 10 grand at least, and so it was just kind of out of our price range to go for that. We lucked out and we got this van. It was a 2020 and it had 41,000 miles on it, which is really good, really low. We paid $29,000 for it at the time. We had put down, I think we put down $16,000. And I think right now we only owe like $8,000 on it or something like that. Just a little over $8,000. So hopefully in the next like year or two, we might be able to just pay it off, and then we won't have a car payment anymore, and then it'll just be the insurance. And that, again, that would also really cut down on your expenses.
Yeah, if you don't have to finance your van. Next question. How did you fix up the van?
We lived in it. I remember we mentioned this earlier. We lived in the van, bare bones build, for a whole summer. We were working in Oregon as raft guides for a little bit, and then we were doing working for a KOA. And while we were working for the KOA, like I said, we only had a bed frame, our inverter, and some batteries, and some solar panels, and like a cooler. We didn't even have a fridge.
Yep.
And just some hooks on the wall. I mean, there wasn't any insulation, there was no walls, there was no flooring, it was completely bare bones. Honestly, I really enjoyed that time because it really kind of helped us understand what was a real priority for us in the van. What did we need more of? How did we need this build to look like so that we could comfortably live? And so that summer was really nice and informative for me, at least, when I was like planning the build in my head and making my rough drafts on. First, I think I made a couple of rough drafts on paper maybe, and then I think I might have made a rough draft, like a diagram, like on my iPad. And then we ended up coming back home to Virginia, and my parents have a nice big farm, lots of scrap wood, and then me, my dad, and Allie just cranked away for, I think it took us about 3.5 weeks to almost completely build out the van. I think there was a couple of like finishing touches that we weren't quite able to check off before heading out to work for the winter. For the most part, it took us about 3.5 weeks. I had a very detailed plan of what we needed done, and my dad is very proficient with building buildings and houses and doing electrical work and things like that. So we were able to kind of divide and conquer because I had such a detailed plan for my dad, that I was able to be like, hey, this is what I want this to look like, and he was able to kind of like knock it out while I was working on something else, and while Allie was working on something else, either painting or staining or...
I was mostly the tool boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we definitely could probably talk about that all day.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole video, which we might, if you guys want to see that, do a whole video, detailed video of, how we built the van and what is all in the van. So just comment below if you guys want to see that video.
And we're definitely planning our next video to be a van tour, so definitely go into some more details about that in our next video as well. All right, so now it's time for our very last question.
Okay. What did you miss most about stationary life?
Miss most? I feel like it's really hard for me to say that I miss anything about stationary life. Obviously, the sense of community might be the biggest thing kind of missing from van life, just like getting to know your neighbors and making friends at your job or what have you. Obviously, living in the van, it's a little bit isolating being out on your own. If I do miss anything, it would be kind of like creating a community with people around me.
For me, miss the most from stationary life. Like Allie said, not much. I definitely think I miss, spending time with my family. I have a pretty close family. A lot of my family lives in Virginia, and they get together for every holiday. And we miss a lot of holidays due to, working ski resorts. They always want you to work holidays. That can be kind of tricky, but we always are staying in contact with them, and they know that this is what makes us happy, is traveling and being out on our own and stuff like that. So they're still supportive, but we definitely miss them.
So that is all the questions we have for today. Thank you for watching. If you're still here at the end.
Yeah. And thanks for commenting those questions, liking, commenting. It helps a bunch. Your support is the only reason we're able to, keep making these videos.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to see our future videos. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming, like the van tour, and it's almost snow season, which is our favorite.
Yep, gonna be snowboarding very soon. We might also be selling Christmas trees. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll have to stay tuned to see what we're doing for the winter, because even we don't know yet.
So thanks for watching.
We'll see you guys next time.